Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. My name's Greg Risha. I see a couple new faces. I remember you. How many people were here the last time I stopped by? So about half and half. Okay, cool. Before we get started, I'm just going to give you my card here. My name's Greg Risha. I'm graduated from right here at Paul Mitchell School. In fact, I was sitting in that seat most of the time over there. I'm a licensed esthetician here in Colorado Springs. I'm currently the skin specialist at Prodigy Salon here in Colorado Springs. I started my first skincare line in 2015, and that was to heal and to preserve tattoos. And then after I did that, I got myself a diploma in natural skincare formulation. Last year, I did a self-publishing of book on vitamins and how vitamins are used in skincare. And just recently, about 2 months ago, I came out with another one about sun exposure. So before we start, I just want everybody, if you take out your phone or your tablet, go to RESHASKIN, RESHASKIN.com, and that'll show you a few of the resources that I have. My primary focus is about understanding products, ingredients, product knowledge, and things like that. It's RESHASKIN, RESHASKIN.com. On there, you can find a couple of links for my social media. You can also find a link on there that says the Skincare Squad. You click on that, that's a Facebook group where we discuss all things skincare and the aesthetics industry. There's another button on there that says Risha Skin, RESHASKIN, RESHASKIN.com. Also, in there, along with the Skincare Squad, I just started a brand new YouTube channel for aesthetic students. It's called Aesthetics Magazine. And in there, you can learn all sorts of different things. I've created tons of playlists from YouTube videos about how to do facials, about lash lifts, brow laminations, all of the different things that you may be learning here, and some of the extra things in there as well. There's also a podcast. There's a new episode every week. Right now, the current show is about sun exposure. And so today, I'm going to start with a little bit about that. So before I start, I'm going to start with a question. And you can tell me what you think the answer might be. What is the number one rule in skincare? What is rule number one? What do you think it is? I'm sorry? That's correct. You got it right away. Wear sunscreen every day, no matter what. That is rule number one of skincare. If you want to reduce the signs of aging, or if you want to prevent the signs of aging, what is the number one anti-aging product? SPF, sunscreen, every day, no matter what. When you have a guest that, I sometimes have guests that they hear myths sometimes about sunscreen, and especially right now on TikTok, there are a lot of anti-sunscreen videos going out right now, and as estheticians, it is our job to shut that down. And here's why. Sunscreen is the number one thing that is going to prevent anti-aging, all right? It is going to prevent fine lines and wrinkles. 90% of aging comes from sun exposure. I'm going to say that again. 90% of aging comes from sun exposure. And there have been numerous studies about sunscreen that help to prevent or reduce the signs of aging and also prevent skin cancer. The number one product to prevent skin cancer, also again, is sunscreen. Does anybody know anybody, or have you heard anything about anti-sunscreen? Yeah?
Oh my god, my brother's crazy.
Oh, yeah?
Psycho, yeah. He's like, never use sunscreen, it causes cancer. I mean, he'll go into a big spill with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
And it's your job, it is your responsibility to say no. Sunscreen prevents skin cancer. It is not the other way, it never has been. It's total BS. And as, again, it is our responsibility as skincare professionals to correct people when they're using misleading information. I'm going to go through the different light rays as well, because what really helped me is making some acronyms for it. So there's UVA rays, there's UVB rays, and there's UVC rays. And they all have different levels of danger. They also have different levels of exposure, and they also do different things. So I think of UVA rays as the aging rays. These are the light rays that are going to go through the window. They're going to go through your clothes. They're going to go through your hat. These are the light rays that are going to age your skin. Then there's UVB rays. I call these the burning rays. These are the light rays that if you're wearing a hat, if you're wearing sunscreen, if you're wearing eye protection, that's going to help prevent the damage. And then there's a third kind, which is UVC rays. These rays rarely reach us. These rays are filtered out by the ozone layer, which is good because these are the most dangerous light rays. So we don't necessarily have to worry about the UVC rays down here on the surface. Does anybody have any questions about the UVA versus UVB, UVC? So when it comes to sun exposure, we have two different kinds of aging. There's intrinsic aging. Have you been covered this yet? There's intrinsic aging and there's extrinsic aging. Intrinsic aging is the aging that is just your natural body, your natural genes going out the course of its life. Extrinsic aging is pollution, sun exposure, or bad habits like smoking or drinking. These are things that can all affect your skin. And like I said a little bit earlier, 90% of extrinsic aging comes from sun exposure. So if you have a guest that says, they're focused on how do I prevent or how do I reduce the signs of aging, daily sunscreen is non-negotiable. And that is exactly what I tell my clients, and it's something that you can tell your clients in the future as well. If you want to prevent or reduce the signs of aging, daily sunscreen is non-negotiable. All right, so I'm gonna go with another question here. So here we go again, but you don't get to answer this time. What's the number one rule of skincare? Daily sunscreen. What is the best anti-aging product in the world? Sunscreen every day, correct. You get a prize for paying attention. When it comes to skincare products, here we're using Image skincare products at the school here still? Yeah? Okay. The Image skincare line is gigantic. There are over 100 different products in there. They have 16 different skincare lines to target different skincare concerns, to target different skincare types. And it's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming amount of information to try and figure out which products do what. And so I'm actually going to kind of break this down a little bit for you, just to make it a little bit easier to understand generally what different skincare products can do for you. And it really comes down to two things: water-based versus oil-based. We all know that water and oil don't mix. And that's a good thing, because people who have dry skin have a lack of oil production. So you need to use products that are oil-based for people with dry skin to give that moisture back. In the Image skincare line, Primarily the oil-based line would be the Vital C. That's primarily made for dry skin. Again, dry skin, you want oily or oil-based products. For people with oily or acneic skin, it's the opposite. You want water-based products for oily skin or acneic skin, because acne is a disorder of the sebaceous glands, where it overproduces oil, primarily because your skin thinks it's dry, and so it has to produce this oil. And something with acneic skin, it's overproducing the oil. It's too much oil. And how do we calm that down? We calm it down by moisturizing acneic skin with water-based products. All right. A lot of folks who suffer from acneic skin, they feel oily, they feel greasy, and so they avoid moisturizing their skin because it makes them feel greasy or oily. And that's kind of counterproductive. You still have to moisturize acneic skin. And when you moisturize the acneic skin, it thinks it's moisturized, and so the production of oil reduces because it doesn't think it needs to produce any more oil. So the two lines that we're talking about here, when we're talking about an oil-based line, from Image Skincare would be the Vital C line. If you want a water-based line, you're talking about the Ormedic line. The Ormedic line is basically a water-based or a gel-based skincare. All gels are water-based. All creams are oil-based. And its creams are actually literally whipped oil. And so for me, that helps me to remember. People who have dry skin need oil. People who have oily skin need water. Any questions about that? So when it comes down to the once again, when it comes down to the Image Skincare lines, I primarily stay with those two. Those are the two most popular lines in Image Skincare. Is the Ormedic line, water-based, or it's also certified organic ingredients as well in the Ormedic line. And the Vital C line is primarily an oil-based line, and that also has a lot of peptides in there as well. Next up, I'm going to go over some vitamins for you. At first, vitamins were really hard for me to understand, and so I really had to get down and dirty with it to try and get an understanding of what vitamins do for your skin versus what oral supplements can do for your body. And so I'm just going to start quickly with vitamin A. Vitamin A is also known as retinol. Retinol, I'm sure we've heard the name retinol. When you are taking vitamin A oral supplements, or if you're using retinols topically, what you're doing is you're helping to speed up the cell renewal of your skin cells. So as we age, our cells, the cell turnover starts to slow down. And that's how we start to see the signs of aging. We start to see the signs of fine lines and wrinkles because our cells turn over a lot slower. What vitamin A does is that helps to speed up that cell renewal process. It speeds up that cell renewal process, which helps to reduce the signs of fine lines and wrinkles. And that's how it works, is by renewing or helping your skin cells to renew a little bit faster as we age, so that we reduce the signs of fine lines and wrinkles. Another thing that vitamin A can do is it can help to reduce inflammation. It's an anti-inflammatory, and a lot of the ingredients that work for anti-aging also happen to work for acne as well. So retinol can be used for somebody with acneic skin as well as aging skin, because the acne that we see is itself inflammation. And so if we use a vitamin A to calm down that redness, to calm down that inflammation, you're going to reduce the signs of acne, and the cell turnover helps to reduce the signs of anti-aging. And you will see that over time, that a lot of the same products and a lot of the same ingredients that work for acne also work for wrinkles. They kind of go hand in hand. They're two completely different disorders. They're two completely different skincare concerns, but the same ingredients work for those products. work for those concerns. Next, vitamin. I'm just going to go straight through that. Oh,
It works the same if you take it orally as vitamin.
I typically yes, but at the same time, as estheticians, especially in this state and in some states, we are not allowed to offer oral supplements. That's not in our wheelhouse. We're not doctors. We don't have. So when a guest comes to you with a question like that, say yes, an oral supplement could work, but we need to check with your doctor first before you start taking oral supplements, or before you start changing your diet. When your guests ask you questions specifically about oral supplements or changing their diet, it is very important to remind them that that is beyond my scope of practice. I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not a doctor. I cannot tell you to change your diet, and I cannot tell you to take oral supplements. But what you can do is you say, if it's true, you can't lie about it. But I personally, I take a vitamin A supplement, so I can say I take a vitamin A supplement and it works for me. But I can't necessarily recommend it for my guests because that goes beyond my scope of practice. Any other questions about vitamin A? I also have noticed that, just in my personal experience, an oral vitamin A, sometimes if you don't do the dosage right, it can be too much. So when you're taking a vitamin A oral supplement, be very careful with the dosage, with the UI dosage on there. Another reason why you should probably consult a nutritionist. How often should you use retinol? When you're first starting out using a retinol, depending on how strong it is, because there are different levels of strength of a retinol. Most people, when they start using let's say you're using an overnight. If you're using an overnight cream, I would say alternate every other day for the first couple weeks with a regular moisturizer and then a retinol moisturizer just to get your skin ready for it. But for the most part, using retinols at night is most important. So probably when you're using it, you can use it daily, but make sure you're using retinols at night. And here's the reason why. It can make you more sensitive to sun exposure. And so when you're using a retinol, make sure you use retinol at night. Or if you have an eye cream or something that you use during the day, make sure you're using SPF. There are not necessarily products you should avoid, but there are certain things that can, like waxing. You should avoid waxing when you're on retinol. You should probably be off of retinol for about 2 weeks before you do your waxing service, because it can make your skin a little quicker and to start lifting something that you don't want. And so if you have a skin consultation card for when you're doing a waxing service, that question should be on there, whether or not they're using a retinol. If they're using a retinol, you should probably avoid using it for 2 weeks. Any questions about that?
So we're not allowed to recommend a specific vitamin because diet affects your skin.
So yes, absolutely. You can say, diet affects your skin. Like if your guest is asking for like a food supplement, like if you're looking for antioxidants, green tea is an excellent source of antioxidants. Green tea is in certain skincare products, but it's also topical. You can adjust it as well. But you have to be careful about the way you word it. You can't say you should drink your green tea. You say green tea works for me. There's your kind of your legal thing, because again, it's a weird gray legal area recommending food and supplements. So recommending if you say you want to, if you're trying to recommend a certain product or a certain supplement, say I use it and it works for me. That's an easy way to kind of get it without saying you should use this or you should do this. Any other questions about vitamin A? So on to the next one, vitamin B. Vitamin B has two different functions for your skin. One, it helps to remove surface oils. So if you have somebody that's suffering from acneic skin and they have an overproduction of oil, niacinamide or vitamin B can help to remove those surface oils to help reduce the signs of acne. It also has another benefit. It's called barrier function, which is extremely important up here in this high altitude. Barrier function is basically just like a dome. It's like a dome of healthiness over the top of your skin that helps to keep all of your nutrients and moisturizers in, and it helps to keep all the pollutants out. That's what barrier function is for. It creates a little dome, keeps the good stuff in, keeps the bad stuff out. So niacinamide or vitamin B, twofold. It can remove surface oils to help reduce acne, and it can also create a barrier function for people who have sensitive skin or people like us who are up here at high altitude. Niacinamide, not necessarily. What it can do for somebody who has dry skin, like for myself, I have dry skin, but I also have freckles. Niacinamide can also help to even out the skin tone. So for somebody like myself, if I were to use a niacinamide, the benefit for me would be to reduce the pigment, to reduce and even out the melanin in my skin, to help to even out the skin tone, if that's something that I wanted to do. When you're using natural lighteners or you're using like the vitamin C, I'll get into it in a minute, but it's also a natural lightener. And so you're going to get some natural brightening or your natural evening out of your skin tone with a lot of products, but especially if they have vitamin C. Or have vitamin E. I don't know. It could probably not in a topical form, but if you're taking oral supplements, probably. Mm-hmm. Right, and there are, I think there are 13 different derivatives of vitamin B. There's biotin, there's niacinamide, and there are more than a dozen different types of vitamin B. So you could be talking about a different derivative that isn't necessarily for skin. And that definitely, because there's, again, it could be used for a derivative of vitamin B in Oh, wow, okay, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that and see which form of vitamin B this is. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Cool. Anyone else about vitamin B? Cool. So I'm gonna move on to vitamin C then. Vitamin C, I like to call this a super ingredient, and there's a few super ingredients that come off the top of my head. 3 for sure. Vitamin C is a super ingredient. CBD is a super ingredient, and gold is also a super ingredient. Super ingredients do multiple things for your skin, not just one or two things. And so vitamin C is an anti-inflammatory that helps to reduce redness, and it helps to reduce inflammation. Vitamin C is also an antioxidant that helps to bring unhealthy skin back into balance. Anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, it also has anti-aging properties, and it also helps to reduce and suppress the production of melanin. So that also helps to even out the skin tone or lighten the skin tone. When you're talking about the suppression of producing melanin, like if you're talking about like the Illuma line, or do you have the Illuma line here? Some of the Illuma line products? That also has a little bit of vitamin B and vitamin C in there. But when you're talking about pigmentation in skincare, when you're especially like in the Illuma line or the vitamin C's, for people with lighter skin tones, it helps to lighten the skin tone. So for someone with myself with a lighter skin tone, my freckles would get lightened with these certain kinds of ingredients. If you have a darker skin tone, it helps to even out the hyperpigmentation. It helps to smooth out the skin tone. So that's a really important another benefit of vitamin C. Another benefit of vitamin C is it's also a natural moisturizer, and it can moisturizers can sometimes get confused with hydrators. A hydrator, like a hyaluronic acid, what that does is that takes water from lower layers of your skin, or takes water from the surface, the air, and holds the water there at the surface of your skin. A moisturizer covers the top of your skin and holds everything in. So I like to think of it as hydrators, like a vitamin C, or like a hyaluronic acid. A hydrator works from the inside out, and a moisturizer works from the outside. So that would be the difference between like a vitamin C, which is a natural moisturizer, or hyaluronic acid, which is a natural hydrator. So vitamin C, again, it's an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, it evens out the skin tone, it's a natural moisturizer, and in my opinion, it's one of the most important skincare ingredients. It's kind of the foundation of many different products, especially here. And with the Image Skincare line, you can find vitamin C. Obviously, in the Vitamin C line, it's almost everywhere, along with peptides. But you're also going to find a lot of vitamin C in the Hormetic line as well, especially the antioxidant serum. It has what's called Kakadu plum, and Kakadu plum is an incredible source of vitamin C and antioxidants. Next up is vitamin E. I'm sure you might have heard of vitamin E oil. You can get vitamin E oil at almost every pharmacy. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When it comes to vitamin C, I always thought that there's a difference between, because I use vitamin C for my skin, and brightening instead of brightening, because vitamin C isn't bleaching.
Right.
So what's the
There's a difference. Okay. So when you're talking about vitamin C, especially people with darker skin tones, what vitamin C does is that helps to even out the skin tone for people with darker skin tones. So if you happen to have a spot or a little bit of hyperpigmentation, a little bit of unevenness, that's what vitamin C is going to do for you. There are lighteners though, which is like kojic acid, which is in the Illuma line, or there's licorice root extract. That's also a lightener that works a little bit better than kojic acid. Yes, those are lighteners. They're not bleachers, but they are lighteners. But they would have the same effect. So for somebody with a lighter skin tone, it would brighten and lighten the skin tone. Somebody with a darker skin tone, it's just going to even out. It's not going to brighten. You could, but it has to be used with a little, with like a seed. It needs to be mixed with something in order to have it to a delivery. It needs a delivery. So you can use glycerin would be another that can help do that. A hydrator may help to deliver. It needs some sort of vehicle to deliver it to your skin. You're not going to get you're just by yeah, you can. I mean, you can squeeze an orange and put it on your face if you want to. It's not going to do much for you. If you want to, yeah, I kind of used to make a joke that I would want to do natural facials and just squeeze a banana on somebody's face. There you go. Thank you, $300. No, but I think when it comes to oranges, I think natural is suggested that it would be better than placing it on your skin. I'm trying to think if there are other foods that have vitamin C in them that might help navigate. Strawberries maybe. Instead of orange, a strawberry actually. Any other questions about vitamin C? Next one, I'm just going to do one more vitamin for you. It's vitamin E. I was just saying a little bit ago, you can find vitamin E almost anywhere. Vitamin E oil in a little bottle, you can get it for $3 at almost any pharmacy or drugstore or grocery store. You can put it in your bath, you can put it on your lips. What vitamin E does, it has two benefits for our purposes. One, it's a natural moisturizer. So you can put it in your bath oil, you can put it directly on your lips. If you have sunburn, it can help to ease a sunburn. And then it also helps to protect from sun damage. But it does it in a little bit different way. It's not like an SPF. What it does is a vitamin E would take the heat that the sun places on your skin and it releases the heat away from your skin so that the sun doesn't damage it, so that the heat doesn't damage your skin as badly. And so it takes the energy from the sun and releases the heat away from your skin. And so that's why you're going to find vitamin E in a lot of lip balms, because your lips don't have pores, so they can't produce those natural oils that protect the rest of your skin. So using a vitamin E on your lips is excellent.
I get cold sores and I have a lady, she's like, oh my god, you have to put vitamin E on it. And so then when I got my cold sore, it like sped up the healing process, I swear.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would make sense because vitamin E is also an antioxidant, and that would help to reduce some of the inflammation. So that totally makes
So
sense.
as an esthetician and someone has a cold sore, could you recommend vitamin E for it?
You probably could, and at this, you probably would do.
Like just say it helps me.
Yeah, exactly. When it has a cold sore, because when you're getting into a cold sore, that's an open wound, and again, that's kind of beyond our scope of practice. So you would say, yeah, vitamin E works for me. I would use that. I had a guest not too long ago. Her husband has skin tags, and she was asking me natural remedies or natural ways to remove the skin tags. And I told her, tea tree could have some benefits, but at the same time, you really should not be removing them on your own. You need to go to a doctor and have those removed.
That reminded me, my mom got really bad eczema a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
And she had these capsules of oil. I'm 99% sure it was vitamin E. And
Uh-huh.
she tried to for it. It was the only thing that got rid of it.
Oh wow, that's great. Yeah.
And it was so bad that she would keep coming back.
Oh my gosh. My dad, he has a little bit of eczema on his forehead there, and so I created a little anti-inflammatory cream for him, and it had a lot of vitamin E in there, because it's an excellent moisturizer, and also it's an excellent
So
antioxidant.
is that the moisture?
Yeah, the vitamin E can also create a little bit, temporarily, but a little bit of a barrier to hold the moisture in.
What exactly is eczema?
So eczema, what that is it's an overproduction of skin cells, and it's close to. It can be caused by sun damage, but it can also be caused by genetics. But for the most part, a lot of people will find it. If it's from sun damage, they'll find it in the backs of their hands because they're driving. They'll find it on the tip of their nose, or they'll find it on the top of their forehead. Like my father, he has it right here on the top of his forehead where the sun would hit. And so that long-term damage over time will start developing the symptoms or the signs of eczema. Any other questions about vitamin E? Okay, cool. Next up, I'm just going to go over a few common ingredients in skincare products. When you're looking at a skincare product label, what it says on the front of the product is a lot less important than what it says on the ingredients list on the back. When you're looking at an ingredients list on the back of the product, the first product or the first ingredient on that list is going to be the highest concentration of what's in that product. The product or the ingredient that's the lowest on the list has the least amount of that product or concentration. So you can tell what's in a product, or you can get a general idea of what's in a product by just reading the first 3 to 5 ingredients in a skincare product. And especially if you're looking at like an organic skincare product, if you can't pronounce the first 5 ingredients, it's not organic. It's not natural. And if it says organic or natural on the label, turn it over and look at those first 3 to 5 products. If you don't know what they are, or if you've never heard of them, it's not really organic, it's not really natural, And yes, they are perfectly legally allowed to get away with it. There are no regulations in the United States regulating what is natural or what is organic. You can put almost anything into a product and call it natural. You can put almost anything into a product in the United States and call it organic. But you still, by law, have to list your ingredients in order of concentration. So look at those first few ingredients. Most commonly in skincare products, the first ingredient is going to be water. In a lot of professional grade or pharmaceutical grade products, it's going to be aloe is going to be the first ingredient. So if you're looking for a good natural or if you're looking for products that are healthy, the first ingredient should be either water or aloe. You're looking for those two. A few of the ingredients that I want to go over, I just made a quick little list. First of all is hyaluronic acid. It's a natural hydrator. Glycerin is also a natural hydrator. And hydrators, again, what those do is those take moisture from lower layers of your skin, and they also take moisture from the air, and they hold that moisture at the surface of your skin, and it hydrates your skin for the rest of the day. Kind of like how an ant holds 50 times its weight, hyaluronic acid can hold 1,000 times its weight in water. So, and it's holding it there, moisturizing your skin, and hydrating your skin for the entire day. So if you're looking for something that is definitely hydrating, find products that have hyaluronic acid in them. And then glycerin is another hydrator that's a really popular product, or really popular ingredient in skincare products. So either hyaluronic acid or glycerin, both of those are natural hydrators. Peptides. There's been a lot of, especially in the past like 5 to 7 years, peptides have been really popular in topical formulations. And basically, peptides, these are the bonds that hold your skin together. And as we age, those bonds kind of loosen up a little bit, and that's how we start to see fine lines and wrinkles. So peptides in skincare put those bonds, and put the peptides that you need back into your skin. It kind of keeps the strength in your skin, kind of like elastin or collagen. Peptides help to prevent fine lines and wrinkles from forming in the first place. So I kind of think of it this way when it comes to anti-aging products. Retinols renew your skin. Peptides prevent fine lines and wrinkles from forming. And that's another way that I try to remember it. Retinols renew, peptides prevent. And then there's, speaking of retinol, there's a natural alternative to retinol that's starting to be really popular in formulations. It's called Bacachio. This is starting to become one of my favorite ingredients. This is a natural alternative to retinol without the side effects. So you can still do waxing with a product that has Bacachio in it. And this comes from Bacachio is a plant that comes from Eastern Asia, and what it does is it mimics the same benefits of retinol. So what it does is it helps to reduce inflammation and acne. It also helps to renew and speed up cell turnover. And there are a few countries now that are starting to ban retinols altogether. You're going to start seeing this over the next few years again. You're going to see country after country starting to ban retinol. And you're going to start to see the rise of Bacachio in the places like that. Again, this is a more gentle and more natural form of retinol. Next up is going to be lactic acid. Lactic acid is an alpha hydroxy acid. Alpha hydroxy acids are chemical exfoliants. Those help to chemically break down the dead skin cells on the surface so that you can easily remove them, revealing fresh skin underneath. Lactic acid, kind of like the derivative or the origin of the word lactic, lactose, milk. That's where lactic acid, you can find lactic acid in milk, especially if you let the milk sour. Lactic acid is literally sour milk. And you were asking earlier, can you put an orange on your face and get the benefits of vitamin C? I don't know for sure. But if you put sour milk on your face, you will get the benefits of lactic acid. Cleopatra used to take baths in sour milk because of the benefits of the lactic acid. I don't recommend it, but you probably could if you wanted to. Another one is glycolic acid. This is another alpha hydroxy acid. This is a chemical exfoliant. Glycolic acid is pretty serious stuff, and you gotta be careful with it. In fact, glycolic acid is so serious that they decided that you needed a special certification in order to use it. Glycolic acid is the reason the aesthetics industry was born, because the certification that you needed in order to use that glycolic acid, they created aesthetics. They created the aesthetics industry in order to handle glycolic acid. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for glycolic acid, an alpha hydroxy acid that helps to chemically break down the dead skin cells and the oils and the dirts on the surface of your skin. Kojic acid, we were just talking about kojic acid. This is a natural lightener, it's a brightener. You can find kojic acid in the Illuma line. You can also, that goes along, another ingredient that goes along with kojic acid is licorice root extract. If you find that in your formulations, that one is an excellent brightener, lightener as well. And that's specifically made for people who have like sunspots, people who have freckles, people who have uneven skin tone. That's specifically what it's designed for. It's to lighten and even out those spots and areas of discoloration. And then green tea. Green tea is one of my favorite ingredients out there. The reason why is because it's an excellent antioxidant. Who can tell me what an antioxidant is? Okay, so what an antioxidant, or how about free radicals? Have you heard the term free radical before? Okay, antioxidants and free radicals go hand in hand. So I'll start with a free radical. Let's say you're out in the sun, you get a little bit of sun exposure, and with that, the sun or the pollution or even smoking can create free radicals in your skin. So you have a skin molecule. This molecule is just sitting there having a good time, hanging out, doing its thing. Now, let's say you go and you get a little bit too much sun. What the sun is going to do is going to take one of the electrons in that molecule, and it's going to knock that electron away from the molecule. Now this molecule is missing an electron. This is what's called a free radical. A free radical is a molecule that is missing an electron. And what it's going to do is it's going to steal an electron from its neighbor. And now this molecule is back in place. Well, this one over here still is missing an electron. So that one's going to steal an electron from this neighbor and next and next. This creates a chain reaction that damages your skin. You can get trillions of free radicals from one puff of cigarette smoke. You can get millions of free radicals from not wearing sunscreen, being outside for 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes of sun exposure can create millions of free radicals in your skin. And so what an antioxidant does, an antioxidant will donate that electron back to that molecule, bringing that molecule back into balance, and it stops the chain reaction. Antioxidants like vitamin C, or my favorite, green tea, is an excellent antioxidant. And like you were asking a little bit ago, green tea, yes, you can just take a bag of green tea and stick it on your face. Mix it with honey, especially after sun exposure. It's excellent. Mix honey with a tea bag of green tea, put it on your face for 15 to 20 minutes, and that'll help to reduce the damage. So again, I don't know about oranges, but green tea for sure. For sure. I do it all, especially after sun exposure. I just mix a little bit of honey. I put 1 packet of green tea in there, and I'll just leave it on your face for 15 or 20 minutes. That's excellent for your skin after sun. Any questions about antioxidants or free radicals? No, I didn't take a lot of chemistry. What I did was I took a skincare formulation class, and so I learned a lot of stuff about the antioxidants and free radicals. I learned a lot about what alpha hydroxy acids versus beta hydroxy acids do. And I actually took that class while I was in school here, so I was kind of, probably shouldn't have, but I did kind of did both at the same time. Yeah, it's an online course. It's called Formula Botanica, and they're from the UK. And I took their class. It's a 100-hour course, and that's where I learned a lot of the stuff about antioxidants, about free radicals. But when it comes to like the vitamins and the ingredients, there's an excellent resource out there. It's called the Associated Skincare Professionals. You may have heard of it. What it does is Associated Skincare Professionals is it's an association that helps to provide education and support for skincare professionals, but it also has insurance for skincare professionals. You can get insurance as a student for $15 a year. So yeah, it's really cheap for students because technically you're still working under your instructor's license. And then once you're out of school and you become a professional with your own license, I believe it's $250 a year. And that gives you up to $6 million of insurance. It includes a monthly or bi-monthly magazine. But the really cool thing that I love about it is their podcast. If you want to learn about more advanced things in skincare, if you want to learn about the skincare industry, I highly suggest the podcast from Associated Skincare Professionals. It's called SD Talk. And a lot of the stuff I learned that I'm telling you today, I learned from that podcast. So it's ASCP, Associated Skincare Professionals, SD Talk. It's an excellent podcast. ASCP. Associated Skincare Professionals. And the podcast is called called SD Talk. You can find it anywhere you can hear podcasts. It's actually created here in Colorado. It comes from Boulder, Colorado. Ella Cressman is one of the hosts. She is the queen of aesthetics in Colorado as far as I'm concerned. She hosts the podcast. She also, I think she has 3 salons of her own. She's an excellent educator. She knows her stuff. And then there's also Benjamin Knight Fuchs. He is a pharmacist that is on this podcast as well. And so she will talk about the aesthetic side, and he will talk about the science behind it. And so if you want to go more in depth about the aesthetics industry, or if you want to learn more about chemistry in the skincare products, ASCP SD Talk is an excellent podcast. Any other questions for me? Okay. So before I go, I'm just going to ask a few questions about what we went over today. I'm going to hand out a few prizes, and then we'll be done for today. And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me at any time. And so, if you have somebody with dry skin, what is the best kind of a product to use for somebody with dry skin? Hyaluronic acid, yes. And hyaluronic acid is a water-based product. So anything that is water-based you want to use for somebody with dry skin. We'll go the other way. What are the best products for use with somebody? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Pardon me. You're right. Hyaluronic acid is excellent for dry skin, but you also want to use oil-based products. Pardon me. Oil-based products for people with dry skin. Yes, oil-based products for people with dry skin, but hyaluronic acid is an excellent hydrator. However, it happens to be water-based, but you can still use water-based. So we'll go the other direction. For somebody with oily skin, what is the best kind of a product to use for somebody with correct water-based? So you have intrinsic aging and you have extrinsic aging. Intrinsic aging is just your natural genes extrinsic aging is outside factors. Where does the most of extrinsic aging come from? Correct. 90% of extrinsic aging comes from sun exposure. Who can tell me what Bacaccio does? Correct. Yes. All the same benefits of retinol without the yucky side effects. Can anybody tell me a couple of the one or two benefits of vitamin C?
It's antioxidant.
That's
It's
correct.
anti-inflammatory.
That's correct. If you want to prevent the signs of aging, or if you want to reduce the signs of aging, what is the number one anti-aging product? Sunscreen. And again, we have this weird thing going on in our culture right now where we have a lot of anti-sunscreen people suddenly. And again, it is our responsibility to dispel some of those misleading claims. I will tell you again, there are multiple studies out there that will prove that sunscreen prevents skin cancer. There are no studies that say sunscreen causes skin cancer. So again, as estheticians, it's our job to shut down. What does UVB stand for? Burning, yes. UVB stands for burning. UVA is the light rays, the aging rays. UVB, the burning rays. And UVC, they're the worst kind of rays, but we don't have to worry about them because thankfully the ozone layer filters those UVC rays out. Yeah.
The closer the stuff you're altitude towards, the closer you are to the ozone layer.
Yes.
So less rain.
Kind of. It also when you're closer to the ozone layer, not necessarily because it's the same everywhere. There are little pockets in different places of the Earth where the ozone layer is weaker, and that's just because we're irresponsible humans. But those are mainly places that are over the ocean. But over land, because there's a huge ozone, I wouldn't say hole, it's not a hole, but it's very weak over the Atlantic Ocean. It has been for the past 20 or 30 years. There was a huge hole there, but now over the past 20 or 30 years, we've patched it up a little bit. It's still weak, but it's not a hole anymore.
What does happen like as you get higher in altitude, it's easier to get burned?
Yes, because when you're skiing, so when specifically when because we're up here in higher altitude, it's not necessarily going to be it's a vitamin D deficiency technically. Because we're up here in this high altitude, because we're just a little bit closer to the sun, we are naturally going to shield ourselves from the sun. We're going to wear more sunscreen, we're going to wear those hats, we're going to cover up. And because of that, everybody that lives up here at this high altitude, we are all vitamin D deficient in some way. We are all vitamin D deficient a little bit because we live in this high altitude. And so vitamin D supplements can be recommended by your physician. Again, a great thing to help you out with that is daily sunscreen. There are no studies as well. There are no studies that say sunscreen can reduce the. There are no studies that will say wearing sunscreen causes vitamin D deficiency. All right, so you can still wear sunscreen and still get a healthy amount of vitamin D. Any other questions about that? Just a few more of these questions and then we'll be done for today. Cleopatra used to take baths in sour milk because there was a certain ingredient in there. Can anybody tell me what that ingredient was?
Lactic.
Correct, lactic acid. That's an alpha hydroxy acid. Alpha hydroxy acids, again, they're chemical exfoliants that help to break down the dead skin cells and the dirt and oils on the surface of your skin. Have you gone over a lot of exfoliation? Have you talked about the difference between physical, chemical, and enzymatic exfoliation? Okay, cool. Okay, we were talking about a couple of the ingredients that can even out the skin tone or lighten or brighten the skin tone. Can anybody tell me any of these ingredients that help to lighten or brighten or even out the skin tone? Correct. Kojic acid? Licorice root extract, correct. There's one more that we talked about. Vitamin C, correct. These are all, they even out the skin tone, or if you have darker skin tones, it can help to even out hyperpigmentation. If you have lighter skin tones, still got a couple more minutes. Let me see if there's anything else that I missed. What is an antioxidant?
Antioxidants replace missing electrons from free radicals.
Yes, absolutely. Antioxidants neutralize free radicals by donating a missing electron. Let's see here. There's one thing here that I kind of want to touch on real quick about sun exposure and sunscreens and stuff that I didn't mention earlier. Just a couple things about sunscreen and SPF. Not all sunscreens are the same. Not all sunscreens are alike. When you are looking for a sunscreen for yourself, or if you're recommending a sunscreen to your clients, you want to offer a broad spectrum, mineral-based sunscreen. Okay? It's a really long term, but it's really important. Broad spectrum means that you're going to prevent light rays from, prevent damage from UVA rays and UVB rays. That's what broad spectrum means. Mineral-based means that these are going to be natural ingredients that are going to be a lot healthier for your skin than chemical ingredients. There's one ingredient in sunscreen that you want to avoid. It's currently in the process of being banned around the country. It's called oxybenzone. If you find a sunscreen that has oxybenzone in it, stay away from those products. Those can cause irritants. Those can also, they can really irritate people with allergies. Also, they're kind of ruining our coral reefs at the moment. And so if you find a sunscreen, again, it's called oxybenzone. Stay away from sunscreens with oxybenzone. It's rare that you're going to find sunscreens with oxybenzone. Even some of the cheapest sunscreens, I went and I looked at the dollar store. The sunscreen at the dollar store is healthy. Yeah, the stuff at the dollar store is good for you. I went and I read the ingredients myself. zinc oxide, cyclopentasylacane. These are all excellent ingredients. So if you're looking for a cheap sunscreen, go to Dollar Tree. That stuff will have the ingredients in that are excellent.
What is your opinion on tinted sunscreen?
There are a lot of different ones right now. When it comes to there are two sides to that coin. There's like the medical side and there's like the cosmetic side. From the cosmetic point of view, a tinted sunscreen is excellent for temporarily evening out the skin tone, and also you don't have to use a foundation if you don't want to. However, I will say this: if there are moisturizers or tinted sunscreens out there, the SPF needs to be really high. So if you have like a tinted moisturizer, or if you have a tinted foundation that has like an SPF 15, it's not really going to do much for you because you're already diluting it with the colors and with makeup ingredients. All right. So if you have a tinted sunscreen, or if you have a tinted foundation with sunscreen in it, you want an SPF 30 or higher, just to make sure that you get the effects of that. Because if you have a sunscreen, like let's say you have a foundation with like an SPF 15, you're gonna need like 2 teaspoons all over your face in order to get the coverage that you need. So I would suggest either putting a sunscreen on first and then your foundation over the top, or using a tinted sunscreen with a high SPF. And you do, the higher the better, but an SPF 30 or higher would be great for anyone. All right, there's SPF 15 all the way up to an SPF 75. Most common is like an SPF 50. All right, but when you have these two, when you have it, okay, so SPF, it stands for sun protection factor. This is a measure of how long you can be in the sun before the sun starts to damage your skin. An SPF 15 versus an SPF 50, there's only a 6% difference of effectiveness between an SPF 15 and an SPF 50. I'm going to say that again. There's only a 6% difference of effectiveness between an SPF 15 and an SPF 50. So an SPF 30 should be great for just about anything. All right, I think that's the rest of my notes. But the one thing that I want to leave you with today, before I go, is I just want to repeat that thing. That's really important. Exactly. Daily sunscreen is non-negotiable. If you want to prevent or reduce the signs of aging, daily sunscreen is non-negotiable. You must do it or you're not going to get the results you're looking for.
Like even if you spend your days inside.
Yes. Inside, outside. These 2 windows right here, we are not going to get a sunburn from those, but we're still going to get the effects of extrinsic aging, like fine lines and wrinkles, just through the windows here. You're also, folks that are, how do I say this? If you have grown up in a world of smartphones and iPads and screens, the blue light from those screens is already aging your skin in your 20s. Yes, your screen time ages you. That's why, again, you want to look for a broad spectrum SPF, because that's going to cover from UVA, UVB, and blue light from your screens. Oh, like if you're outside constantly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you're outside constantly, then yeah, that's just reapplying your sunscreen to the manufacturer's recommendations, wearing those big hats, and if you're, and it also has to do with your lifestyle as well. If you're a sailor in the middle of the ocean, is your skin routine that important? I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're spending that much time outside, you're gonna have to take other avenues for support. That depends on the manufacturer's recommendations. So just turn the bottle over and it'll tell you how long the manufacturer. Common is every 2 hours. It's pretty common for most products. For cheaper products like that stuff at the dollar store, they recommend reapplying every hour. But yeah, just reapply to whatever the manufacturer's recommendations are. Cool. All right, so once again, if you go to this website here, reachaskin.com, that's where you'll find my Facebook. I have a Facebook group called the Skincare Squad. I'm always posting stuff in that group. If you want to learn more about Image skincare products, check out my Instagram. I do have a highlight on there, and every week I talk about a different Image skincare product, about what it does, how it works, what the ingredients are. There's also on that link you can find Aesthetics Magazine. That is a YouTube channel created for aesthetic students to learn more about whatever you're learning about at the moment. I have tons of topics on there. What else? And I think that's everything. Cool. Thank you so much for having me today, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Just in time. I just finished up. Yeah. Very good. Oh, rosemary, that's it too. So that's just, that helps to make it's really nice. Antioxidants also help with symmetry. It's really nice. Oh, okay, cool, good. That's awesome.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.